Most jet companies, pretty much run by old guys like me. Then this guy, Kolin Jones, comes walking in my office, told me he's starting this new company in private jet travel. I said, sure, kid. But actually, over time, he's starting to pull it off. He's now the CEO of Amalfi Jets, a company he started from scratch. He's servicing a lot of celebrities and high net worth people, making the industry much more efficient and accessible. Not bad for a guy who's probably still getting carded at the bar. I love seeing young guys come up in the market and earn respect. Stick around. Let's see how this guy really did it. Not you guys. Get out of here. Welcome to Above the Noise, the podcast where we cut through the chaos to talk about what really matters: connection, high-performance experiences, and the mindset of those operating at the top of their game. Today, we have a guest who's redefining what it means to succeed in the private aviation industry. He's the founder and CEO of Amalfi Jets, a company that's shaking up the space by making luxury aviation more accessible and efficient. Kolin Jones. Kolin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Great plane.
Pleasure. Thank you very much, man. I am dying to hear about Amalfi Jets and everything that it's about. Really, to start, how did you get started?
So I got, started flying when I was 13 at Camarillo Airport, and then got my pilot's license when I was 18 at Van Nuys Airport, the busiest general aviation airport. So, started flying there, saw all the celebrities there, and I was like, wow, flying private must be so amazing. So I went to Embry-Riddle and Daytona Beach, and my goal was to go be an airline pilot. So I started flying there.
Like all of us.
Yep, I know. I wanted to fly to London, Paris, and kind of travel all in the world. But when I was there at Riddle, first year, got my instrument rating, was working on commercial, beginning of sophomore year when COVID happened. And I was looking at all the expenses that went into actually getting your pilot's license and getting commercial, and all my friends who had class dates with the airlines were losing them. Nobody was flying during COVID. But the private jet industry was up, consistently. The people that could afford to fly, that could afford to fly private were flying private. And I was like, gosh, there's got to be an opportunity to get into this space, because it didn't sound like I was going to be a pilot anymore, and Riddle ain't cheap, right? So I was like, this kind of seems like a waste. And that's when I was like, learning about the kind of charter industry. And I was like, well, I can't go buy a Gulfstream. I didn't have any money. I was a broke college kid. I was 19, but there was the kind of private jet charter brokerage space where you could kind of help organize the flights, kind of be that middleman for these customers. And what shocked me was these people weren't pilots, didn't go to Embry, and realistically just had no understanding of the aviation industry. I mean, people were saying the Phenom 300 could seat 12 people and fly nonstop Van Nuys to Teterboro. And I was like, I don't think it could. So for me, honestly, I blame all of our competitors for forcing us to kind of start this company. Again, I feel like being an entrepreneur is kind of that audacious thing where you look at the industry and you say, you know what, there's hundreds of companies doing this and people that have spent their life doing this. I think I could do it better. There
must be something you're doing differently than the system is used to that really is helping you really rocket speed up.
Yeah, I think our success, kind of one relies on our team. We have a great team of 16 people. So, I attribute that a lot, but I think, just the power of the internet and the power of social media. It allows you to literally bury the competition in terms of we can outproduce them in a content, kind of perspective. In the past 90 days, we had over 1 billion impressions.
Yeah.
Traditional marketing methods cost you hundreds of millions of dollars to buy that kind of access.
That's amazing. I hear you. I'm right on the bandwagon with you on that. Yeah. But you really, since you started learning how to fly when you were 13 and you went to Embry-Riddle, obviously your level of knowledge of what a Gulfstream 550 is, what a Challenger 605 is, what a Citation 3 is, a Praetor 500, whatever. Those kind of things rolled off the tip of your tongue. So you didn't have to, really learn it. And that's one thing I really look for when I'm hiring people in my company. Do you have aviation in your blood? So, it's something that you really were brought up with in the last 5 years before you really started doing the charter broker, and you figured, I know all this information, I might as well just go start a charter business, or?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of both. Obviously growing up at Van Nuys Airport, I remember, because again, like I used to rent a Cessna 172, it was like $155 an hour wet with fuel. And normally at small airports in the middle of nowhere, you'd get like 10, 15 takeoff and landings in an hour. At Van Nuys, you'd get one, because you're waiting for all the jets to land, and you're waiting your 3 minutes for wait turbulence. So that was kind of how I learned all the different airplanes. So I had a good understanding when I started the company. But when, I started, honestly, being, when I was 19 years old, going up against these much better, well-capitalized, well-resourced companies, I kind of felt it of, listen, like if we're going to be in the space and if we're going to actually try to change it, it's our responsibility to know more than everybody. So Everyone on my team knows the difference between a Praetor 600 and a Praetor 500. Everyone on our team knows that just because an airplane says its range is 2,000 nautical miles, okay, add 8 people, put it in Aspen in the summer, you're not getting 2,000 nautical miles. So I think that is kind of a culture that runs deep, but, I knew some of it, obviously learning as we go. But our team, we have this set foundation that everyone knows. Because, again, just speaking to you in the past 10, 15 minutes, even before the podcast, you're very knowledgeable. You understand it. Obviously, we hit it off right from the beginning talking about Riddle. And I think that when you're speaking to customers, when you talk about aviation, like you know it and you love it, I feel like every pilot has that aviation bug. It's really hard to replicate that. Yeah, you can be good at sales, but talking about your first flight lesson or when you got your pilot's license or your first solo flight, it's pretty hard to fake, kind of hard to replicate.
Yeah, there's no question. It is really hard to fake, at least not for a long period of time. The whole thing is really about mindset, right? What's your mindset? Is it a curiosity mindset, a sales mindset, or, is it getting ahead mindset? You never, going through Embry-Riddle, you never considered working for a company? Did you always have this mindset that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I always wanted to be an airline pilot. I always wanted to fly. I used to spend hours in high school playing Microsoft Flight Simulator. But I remember it was this one private aviation company that brought, I think it was a Citation XLS to campus, and they put on the flight line. Went there with all my college roommates. Everyone walked in the airplane. Everyone went left into the cockpit. I was the only one that went right into the back. And I was like, wow, it's pretty damn nice in the back of the jet. I was like, I want to do whatever it takes to get here. And I love the creativity aspect of business. Every single day, like my day is sales, marketing, technology. We're kind of like 50% technology company at this point. And it's been really, really fun, really interesting.
How would you rate the importance of technology, of connectivity, of salesmanship, of knowledge of the industry?
I would say, and this is such a cheesy answer, I would say it's an equal part, but I would say that right now we're slightly more technology focused. We have the Amalfi Jets app. We have like 50, 60,000 members on the app. We built it fully custom. A lot of the other apps in the industry is like one app that people throw their logo on and kind of build it themselves. We built ours from the ground up, and we just asked our clients, hey, if we built an app, what do you want to see? So we built it around that. And the one other thing that just annoys me about the kind of charter industry is there's one piece of software that every single broker utilizes. So if you go to book a jet with like 5 or 6 brokers, you're going to get the same PDF quote from 5 companies with their little grainy logo in the corner. I was like, this is so cheap. So we built our own system that has the entire sales cycle, flight ops system, dispatch system, all within our own kind of internal system.
When you're looking at hiring people, what do you really look for in a personality or a knowledge? What's your profile that you're looking at?
I would say it's changed. Obviously, when I started, I was 19, made the terrible mistake of hiring all your friends. Never do that. Just terrible.
They become enemies.
Yep, become enemies, never works out. But I think we had that shift when our company really started growing with socials to hire experts. So, 3 or 4 people on our sales team all came from other companies in the industry. One of them has like a 25-year career, worked at like 6 or 7 companies. But we look for people that run to our company versus running away from another company. If someone wants to be a part of the Amalfi brand, if they want to grow, if they really believe in what we're doing.
And when you bring people in, are you looking for them to be more salesman-like, or are they not aviation people, or what?
Yeah, I prefer to always hire aviation sales people. On the marketing side, obviously, we don't look for aviation. Aviation can be taught on that side. Sales, I prefer people that have that kind of instantaneous kind of, ingrained knowledge. But the marketing side, again, I think part of the reason why we started and think we've grown well is because a lot of the companies that have been in this industry have the mentality of, well, this is the way we always used to do it. This is the way it should always be done. I think it's kind of a losing mentality. So, we've tried to innovate across the board. And at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to outbrand some of these 50, 60, 70-year-old companies. But we can be more ridiculous than them. And that has helped. And, when we look for people, we want people that kind of share that mentality. One thing I noticed here in your office is you have this great tech stack. Like all of the people's desks, it's designed like a cockpit, right? Because you have the things up there and then you have all that. What was the inspiration behind kind of that sort of like aviation and technology component here?
Yeah, well, when I decided to do a showroom, the reason behind doing a showroom, first of all, is because I left the industry for a while. I was doing mergers and acquisitions for a private equity firm. And when I came back in, there used to be 82% of all the jets were in the U.S. And if you wanted to go see a client, I'd go and get on the airplane and go see him. Yeah. When I left the business and came back, about 17 years later, really it was only 60% of the business was in the U.S. And the real opportunities were in these new emerging frontier markets like Russia, China, Nigeria, India. Yeah. And it was just impossible to get an airplane and go see him. So I came up with this idea, how do I get them to come and see me. I believe a lot in face-to-face. I know it's very old school.
Yeah.
And the world's moving so quick, you can't just rely on that. But I think it's an important part of my business. And my business is so different from yours. I mean, our deals take, months and months and months to transact. Your business is like instantaneous.
Yeah.
I mean, I take my hat off to you, man. If some guy called me up in the middle of the night and just landed and said, Steve, I told you I wanted Pepsi and it was Coke on that plane. I mean, I'd hang up on the guy. I couldn't take that kind of stuff. But your response time has to be so much quicker. I mean,
we benchmark it.
I mean, your connectivity has to be, milliseconds because I mean, I can get back to the guy later. As long as I take his call, I can get back to him later. But, you're at a much more faster speed. Do you ever get any downtime or do you get 24/7?
I handle our select VIPs. So my phone's always on, obviously, 2 phones. So if, work, that phone always goes with me. If work ever finds me on the personal phone, something terrible's happened. But on the, kind of communication side, I mean, I'm always there for our top clients. Luckily, I don't have to deal with the 2 a.m. angry calls about Coke or the M&Ms being blue instead of green. Our flight ops team handles that.
There really are people who do that?
Yep. No, we've had our fair share of that. We got someone that didn't ever want to be looked at by anyone. I always thought in the industry, I was like, oh, that's a joke. No one's actually like that. No, like this person never wanted to make eye contact with anybody.
I'm glad I don't have your clients.
But I mean, I think like, for example, in our office, we benchmark average response time for my team should be under 5 minutes. Outside the office should be under 15 minutes because we reach out to every single one of our competitors and the average benchmark response was like 37 minutes. So if we get to someone over 37 minutes, the likelihood that we close the deal is down like 80%. And at that point, that's why the attentiveness is really, really important. But one thing that we noticed is a lot of these customers, like some of which we get customers that book our flights from the private jets that we sold, kind of chartered for them.
The next flight.
Yep. Yeah. Like usually like 5-10% of our business is people booking their next flight on board. But one thing that we notice is a lot of people now just have Wi-Fi on board as a non-negotiable. And I think if you look at just kind of the market of consumerism, I mean, shipping is faster at most companies. People want things now, and that's translating into kind of private aviation. I mean, on commercial flights, most commercial airlines have free Wi-Fi now. So when people fly private, they expect it, and they expect it to be quick. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, listen, would you say that is the or one of the most first requests of any jet? 3
years ago, maybe every now and then. A lot of people, I think, were more leisure and just wanted to disconnect on board. Like I love just having a nice glass of red wine and just reading a book. But now Wi-Fi is a top request, both for leisure and business travelers. I mean, a lot of younger people want to be on social media when they're flying. They don't want to kind of take that gap and step away. But then it runs into the problem of like, all right, you want to scroll on social media apps on your phone. Well, if the Wi-Fi is not fast enough, you're just awkwardly lagging the entire flight. You just get more angry, if anything.
Besides for connectivity, what would you say is probably the most frequently requested?
I would say airplanes that have nice interiors. I mean, again, like most of the airplanes on the charter market, like if you take like the G4SPs made from 1992 to 2002, right? So the make years are old. Newer interior refurbishments is really important for people. But one thing we notice is since there's a finite number of charter aircraft, you have an airplane that's a 2023 refurbishment that charters out a lot. You look at it and it looks pretty dang worn. So that's something that I would say is the most important of aircraft quality, because I think that, even as the airlines come out with newer first class products and so forth, like when you look at private aviation, you still want to have that same level. Like again, you hop on a commercial first class flight, the seat's like old and ripped or there's like crumbs and stuff like that. When you hop on a private aviation, a private jet, you're going to want top tier quality.
Yeah, no, there's no question. And I'm sure you have a lot of problems where you're not, obviously not seeing the airplanes firsthand.
Yep.
And, they send you a picture and it's not the real picture from yesterday.
Yeah.
It's the one they took from 2 years ago. You must get a lot of pushback from people showing up at an airplane and raising whatever to be able to give you, grief about giving them an airplane that just wasn't in great condition.
In the first year, I mean, again, we never saw the aircraft. We were never there. And that was a daily call. Hey, Colin, this airplane looks terrible. Hey, Colin, this airplane, in the photos looked awesome. Yeah, the photos that maybe were taken the day that interior was put in 20 years ago. So we kind of got ahead of that. We have a team of like 15 reps that are all actually Embry-Riddle students and or graduates. So I like to hire pilots only. They're our departure representatives. So we actually fly people out commercially to meet and greet all of our clients whenever they fly with us. Serves two purposes. One, that airplane is now branded Amalfi because we have Amalfi brochures on it. We have the rug outside. Two, they're meeting the clients. There's someone in a suit saying, hey, it's great to see you again, Steve. Thanks so much for flying with us. And 3, we stay ahead of that. Hey, Colin, just got to the airplane. There's a big red wine stain in the carpet. Shoot. All right, let's make a note of that. So this tail is now banned from our system until we get proof from the operator that that airplane has been, refurbished recently.
Do you think that those airplanes that need to be refurbished, do they get sort of sidelined by everybody? I mean, you get the operators who say, we don't want anybody who drinks red wine, nobody who smokes, nobody has kids, nobody, all that kind of stuff. And basically, you want the perfect body and everything in a package, which doesn't exist, most of the time. Yeah,
I mean, again, in the charter market, is tens of thousands of airplanes available for charter. We've narrowed it down in our safety kind of standard network to about 3,500, 4,000 airplanes. We're checking operator credentials, flight crew credentials, obviously year of make, year of refurbishment, interior quality, safety, and kind of all of our little check boxes.
You do the Y-burn checks and all that and everything.
Yeah. All that, but even then we go a little bit further than that. And we kind of do our own, how long have the pilots been working at the company, right? So a pilot that's been at the company for 2 months isn't really enough time to get set up with their SOPs versus someone that's been there for 12 months or 24 months. But I think it's difficult because, again, as you mentioned, on the charter side, if an airplane owner doesn't have Wi-Fi in it, I mean, we've probably been the ones that have declined that airplane because it doesn't have Wi-Fi.
So what's next for Amalfi Jets? I mean, what do you think is the next big step for you besides growing the number of people or your office size or something like that?
Yeah, so we have the new Amalfi headquarters coming soon, 10,000 square feet, going to be designed. Hopefully maybe have a cool plane or something in it. Although I don't think we could fit it in this new place that we toured, so it kind of sucks. But consistent growth. And I mean, one of the biggest things to me is, again, growing up, always looking at private aviation, I always thought it was this glorious, glamorous thing. When I got in the industry, looking at it from a lot of these brokers, I was kind of annoyed. I was like, this is not what I thought private aviation charter should be like. These people don't know what they're talking about. So our biggest goal, and again, I'm a big believer that companies should have missions greater than themselves. So while it is to grow revenue, grow profits and stuff like that, it is to simply set the standard for what private aviation kind of charter should be like on the brokerage side. So consistently growing, we have the Amalfi Jets app. We're really pushing out that technology. And then the internal tech that we built to run our company to kind of help streamline it both on the sales side, the flight operations side. By the end of Q3, we're going to be licensing that to the industry. So again, we can share what we've built with other companies.
Like franchise out?
Kind of like franchise out. Our tech, have another kind of SaaS model, I guess, under the kind of big Amalfi Jets umbrella. We have a lot of fun stuff on the marketing and media side coming soon as well.
Let me ask you, I mean, I know you're a young guy, but what would you say that you've learned, that it was a hard lesson that you learned through being an entrepreneur over the last, 3-4 years?
Yeah, I would say you have to have your why. Amalfi never took out any investors, capital, or anything like that. So, for us, I mean, we've almost went bankrupt so many times. And I think that why you started the company. And, I always go back to the industry is so not what I thought it was. They're ruining this amazing view that I had of private jets. Someone needs to do something about it. So the biggest thing that I learned is thought it was going to be so much easier. But also, you have to have a strong why that's going to get you through those hard days. And I think if you can build that mission with your employees, it, kind of completes the circle. I mean, if you have employees that just want a job, want to make their paycheck and go home right at 4 or 5 o'clock, they're not going to be successful at our company. And realistically, in my opinion, any company, I mean, if you don't believe in the company's mission, it's not good enough to get you to show up to work every single day.
How do you see, in technology, do you think there'll ever be a point where, most, I'm not saying all, but most of the bookings would ever just be done on your app and no human connection?
I mean, in maybe the future, if we bought a bunch of planes or software change where we could be directly plugged into crew scheduling, aircraft maintenance, schedule flight plans and stuff like that, so you could actually get that real instant booking. Right now, when you request a flight through the app, it goes, it gets sent to the team and they're still sourcing. Again, aviation, there's so many moving parts. I mean, a lot of these companies have these instant booking tools that they say one price, you book it, and then push comes to shove, you're paying some completely other price the next day. So in the future, yeah, but I mean, our goal with technology is to make our company run more efficiently, make it more scalable, and just to really improve that user experience. I mean, in the past, you're calling us up, you're kind of going through this whole contract process just to book a jet. Now it's a little bit easier. You get a quote, you can book it directly through the system, and then that plugs in with our scheduling system. So then we handle the entire process from the back end. And
do you sell more called jet cards, or is it more one-off trips?
We notice a lot of customers that fly with us. It's like I think 65% of customers that charter with us move into the Amalfi One Jet Card program or the enterprise program, which is more on the corporate side. Jet Card programs just have that better flexibility, kind of that hedge against the market, better rates across the board and kind of better benefits. But on the charter side, I mean, again, through the social media and through the hundreds of millions, if not billions of people that we reach kind of every quarter, we're getting a lot more charter bookings. And I think that's just because I feel like in any industry, you want to be top of mind. So when someone thinks of, I want to charter or rent a plane, we want it to be Amalfi. No one else think of us first. So,
what percent of the people that you talk to is the first time that you're hearing from them? And what percent are repeat customers and what percent are first-time customers?
Yeah, month over month, we're about 60 to 70% repeat customers.
Repeat customers,
yeah. So we have very, very high client retention. I attribute that a lot to our ops team and our sales team.
When did you actually start Amalfi? When's the
2020.
So just when COVID locked at the beginning of 2020?
May 26, 2020.
Wow. So really 2 months after lockdown.
2 months after lockdown, was locked in my dorm, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to become a pilot because I was, piloting Microsoft Flight Sim from my dorm. There's no way to make a living, but it was a perfect time since COVID. And I mean, again, I think that demand's still there. And I feel like for a lot of new first private jet flyers, I mean, again, you fly private, you become a snob because it ruins flying commercially. I mean, you fly first class, people get so excited over like, oh, I got a real glass. It's like, that's the bare minimum that we're celebrating. So we get a lot of, we got a lot of new kind of COVID flyers that can afford to fly private that stick with it. But I'm curious for your customers, what percentage is business customers versus individuals of people that are actually buying jets?
Well, 100% of them buy it for business. Mm-hmm. And, the statistic in the industry is that 70% of all corporate jets are occupied by middle management. Mm-hmm. And 22% is the C-suite.
Yeah.
So, of course, we face mostly the C-suite when we're talking about buying and selling the airplanes. And, of course, there's a lot of people who are entrepreneurial-led companies, and we deal with those individuals. Mm-hmm. Also, we have a lot more success when we're able to talk directly to the decision maker. Mm-hmm. What you see on the kind of people you're dealing with is not so much the kind of people we deal with, but the people we deal with eventually will put the airplane, I'd say 30% of the time, with a charter company because they're not using the airplane enough. And they want to maximize, the sort of amortize the cost of the fixed costs and the pilots and things like that. And I don't know if you deal more with companies who have airplanes that are 100% dedicated to being a charter airplane, or if you have airplanes that are corporate airplanes that occasionally are available for charter.
I mean, it kind of varies. We've noticed a lot more companies, like a couple of our companies are public companies. They own their own, multiple airplanes, G650s, G280s. But you can track those airplanes. So if they fly with us, you're buying that invisibility aspect because, again, people can track the corporate aircraft. You charter out through a company like Amalfi. No one knows what you're doing. So you can go acquire a competitor, get financing. So that's been a big thing. But I'm curious, for your customers on the business side that are chartering or that own their own airplanes, they're working all the time. Are they working on board? Is Wi-Fi like a big concern for them?
Oh, yeah, there's no question. I mean,
because there's a lot of planes on the charter market that don't have Wi-Fi, and I'm like, how do you not have Wi-Fi on your airplane anymore?
We are always, that's one of the key questions when we're getting our specifications representing an airplane. The type of Wi-Fi you get is important. And of course, what works in the U.S. doesn't work necessarily in Europe on a localized basis. Globally, you can get Ka-band and you can have super fast speed everywhere in the world. And there's no question about it. I mean, we push that because we think you're going to regret it later. Don't be, stupid and think you're saving money on something like this. And it's funny, they negotiate the hell out of you. I mean, really, they negotiate on this kind of stuff. But once they make the decision to go forward, boom, man. I mean, they go, they spend, and, on their own. But the connectivity thing, we always tell them, if you're not going to resent it, your spouses, your kids are, your employees are, and if you want this to be a productivity machine, you need to be connected. I mean, we did a study that if you're flying on a corporate jet just 200 hours a year, right, you can get 33 more work days a year. Wow. That by not having to go to the airport, 2 hours earlier, wait for your luggage for an hour, get to an airport that's closer, and you multiply that by the number of trips that an airplane usually does in a year. And so if you can increase your productivity by 33 days, and that doesn't include the productivity of being on the airplane. So, I mean, when you're on a commercial plane and you're with a group of people, you can't sit there and work with each other.
No.
You can't, call into the office.
I mean, especially if you're having a privileged conversation, you have your computer screen up, everyone behind you on the commercial flight's looking at your screen.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially if you're going to go you're preparing for a meeting and you're going with other people. Yeah. You can't talk to each other. You can call the office, I need this change. You need Wi-Fi to get the connection to alter the programs, because everything changes on the fly, no matter how many times you give a meeting, it's got to be personalized every place you go. So it's definitely become much more important, and I think you're really the outcast if you don't have it. Kolin, I'm sure that, when you get your customers flying around on these jets and you get this phone call from them from the air, it's not because they want to tell you how they're having a great flight. Thank you very much. I really love you. I mean, they're usually probably complaining about something, right? I mean, is there some funny story or a serious story that you could share with us that might have been some memorable occasion? Yeah,
anytime a client calls or texts you mid-flight, never good. Always complaining about something. Either the food's cold or the flight attendant was mean or something like that. But we had a situation last week where we've been getting a lot more in the corporate space through our Amalfi Enterprise check card program. And we had this client that was chartering to his family vacation, but he was supposed to be working. So he was joining this board meeting, and Wi-Fi was really, really big for a lot of the people in the enterprise program. And his board meeting was going fine. He was joining the Zoom call, was on it and having that conversation. And then the speed went really, really slow. So then he kind of lagged out. And I guess to the point where his camera came on and they saw that he was not at the office. He was chartering on a plane. So I was very upset.
I hate when that happens.
I know. Very upset that the Wi-Fi wasn't fast enough. So a lot of the times now we get a lot of requests of like, hey, I want to charter, I need fast Wi-Fi. But I don't need it just to be fast. I need it to actually be working the entire flight if I'm going to be working the entire time. So a lot of times they're requesting like K-band or, Viasat or something like that. That's usually like kind of the standard in terms of like consistency versus really, really fast here, really, really slow, really, really fast. So, you kind of want that consistency for the entire flight.
It's amazing. I mean, because when you watch, your videos, you're given very short clips and there are some funny antics and, you're reacting to somebody booking a plane. But people don't really realize how much work really goes in behind the scenes to get everything done. I mean, like you're talking about the connectivity, like, or maybe food or whether, transportation on the ground or something. Nobody ever sees what goes on behind the scene. They just think somebody calls you, I want to book this plane, and it's over.
Yep.
I mean,
and then the second the phone hangs up is when it starts. All right, well, we need to file customs. Going into the UK is annoying with customs. We have catering, we have crew. If we're doing multiple long legs, we're going to need an augmented flight crew. We're going to need a switch crew. Then you have weather as a factor. So there's so many things. I always say aviation is being at 43,000 feet in a pressurized metal tube with 80,000 parts that all need to work perfectly at the exact same time. So there's so many things wrong, that can go wrong with aviation.
I don't think I'm going to use that for my sales pitch.
Yeah, I mean, we can make a bunch of content regarding all the behind-the-scenes stuff, but it's probably too boring. No one wants to watch it. People want the crazy things that you see on the, original videos. But yeah, I mean, everything from, the Wi-Fi. All right, well, let's confirm with the flight crew. Walk me through what kind of Wi-Fi it is, how well it's going to work, what's our connectivity over the route of the flight. If we're going over the Atlantic, all right, what is our plan there? And if the gentleman's going to be joining a board meeting the second they crest into one of the NAT tracks over the ocean, great. Are we going to have consistent Wi-Fi that he's going to be able to be on that call for that entire time?
I think we've established that the most important thing for any airplane, except for landing safely,
definitely,
is having connectivity of your Wi-Fi consistent and
especially in this day and
fast
age. Again, I like to disconnect on planes, but let's be real. I'm connected to the Wi-Fi and I'm on both phones with the computer. I'm getting everything done while I can.
I'll tell you, this has been a fantastic conversation.
Likewise.
I've learned a lot about your business, about you, about the charter market. I wish you so much luck, and because I love seeing young guys, work hard and be successful.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that.
Thanks for making the trip out here, and I look forward to reconnecting with you and
definitely
catching up on another podcast or something.
I would love to. Thanks, Steve. Right. Thanks again.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it.
So, to all of you out there, make sure you stay connected, stay ahead, make sure you stay above all the noise.